Well, here we have our little demonstration of the 75S1 versus the TS830. We have the TS830 on right now, and now the 75S1. We're listening to a conversation on 40 meters. We're back to the TS830. This is lower sideband. One thing about the Collins, sounds very nice. Collins audio has always been great. But you can see there's virtually no difference between the TS830S and the 75S1. Now, with conditions being what they are, this is a Friday night. There's a lot of static on the bands. One way to demonstrate that the Collins works on all bands with excellent sensitivity is to demonstrate using the receiver's internal calibrator. And what we're going to do right now is go through all the crystals, and you will be able to tell, number one, that all the crystals are active and working well, and all the bands are active and working well. So we're going to start right now. This is going to be kind of boring, but for somebody who's interested in knowing whether or not this receiver works well on all bands, bear with me, please. So first of all, we're going to turn on the calibrator, and it zeros. You can see that if you are not exactly on zero, you can use the Graticules setter here to set your zero for a particular band, but in this case it doesn't really matter. All we want is to be able to hear it. Please notice how the pre-selector peaks, and so we're going to peak every crystal. Normally crystals drift with time. This is a 50 or 55-year-old receiver. These crystals can be expected to drift, but they're really amazingly close. They're set up so that the receiver works in 200 kilohertz segments. So right now we're listening basically at 3500. So here we go. Now this is the next band up. Now we're at 3700. Up we go. Now we're into the 40 meter band. We peak the pre-selector. You can hear it peak up, very nice. There's the other part of the 40 meter band. We peak it, set it. We're now on we're now on 20 meters. Peak our pre-selector. The other segment at 20 meters. We're now on 15 meters. Peak the pre-selector. The other segment at 15 meters. Now we're getting into the third segment on 15 meters. We're now into 10 meters, the lower segment. Notice how the pre-selector peaks it up. This is the middle segment. And the final segment to cover all of 10 meters. Now we're going to go up and listen on some bands where there are some conversations taking place. We are now on 75 meters, listening to some sideband. I'll tune it around, and you can see how it tunes in. Listen to it. Now I want to show you the only defect on this dial. There's a very slight scratch in a dark area here on this particular segment of the dial. But other than that, the dial is absolutely beautiful. And here's 80 meters with some of the crap that goes on 80 meters with the jamming. Other than that, it seems pretty quiet. A lot of activity going on 40 meters. 40 meters this time of evening here is probably the most active band. We have an awful lot of data going on. If you have a demodulator, you can listen to this, these various digital codes. Here we are at 40 meters. This is a net, and they are transferring back and forth between various stations. I'm sure if you're familiar with this net activity. The rest of the band seemed very quiet as we tuned through it. We are about, right now, the pointer says 7.2, so using the zero, this zero would be exactly 7.200 megahertz, and this would be 7.210 megahertz, etc.
Thank you very much. My solution here is very simple. I have a YouTube 15991 transceiver that I am transmitting 100 watts.
One nice thing about the, as I said earlier in the comment, Collins gear sounds so nice on sideband, and as you could tell when we go down to CW, a lot of the sideband stations disappeared. And obviously you can copy on upper or lower sideband. On the 75S1s, this one does not have a CW filter. If it had a CW filter, we could switch to CW, but if you switch to CW and there's no filter installed, the radio just goes dead. So, surprised me the first time I did it until I read the manual. Nice thing about this receiver also, very strong data signal. I'll turn the volume on here a second. Another nice thing about this, inside the set here, there is an RCA jack labeled Q multiplier. So if you had a a Heathkit Q multiplier that worked, you would simply plug it in. And I'll tell you what, I've used Q multipliers for when I was first radio amateur in 1956, and there was nothing like them to increase selectivity. I liked them a lot better than filters because they didn't ring, and you could vary the pitch quite a bit. Wonderful set. So here it is, the 75. As you can see, it's got the Collins Holy Grail Beazle, the 75S3C. This is not a 75S3C. This is a 75S1, and it runs very, very nicely, as you have seen. Well, that's it. Thank you very much for listening. This is Chris, W7JPG, signing out.